his family.
It's just so easy. But I haven't up since 4:30 this morning. I am tired. Is it all good?
Yeah, 6-2.
I have no idea.
We turned.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our Monday, June 24th, 2024 Cascade City Council meeting. We'll have a call to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Oliphant? Here. Roush?
Here.
Hush?
Here.
Gale?
Here.
Delaney?
Here. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Gale,
Second?
second by Oliphant. All in favor?
Aye.
Prior to public comment, we have a presentation to make for a special person, Riley. Way up in front.
Yes.
This is an appreciation of your 6 years of service to the residents of Cascade, and we're gonna miss you on the group. You can. Yeah.
Steve, stay in there. I'm bossy, sorry. Just don't trip.
Any speeches? Any last questions? Questions for the group? I just have one question.
Of all the things we'll miss, that will be one.
See if anyone takes over the role.
At this time, we'll have public comment. You have a limit of 3 minutes per person on agenda items and local government issues. Seeing none?
On the agenda can be either.
You could. I'll wait then. Okay. Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of Nikki Mononoke, who couldn't be here tonight, we reserved the city park for a reunion down here and felt that with the road construction and everything going on, that we felt that the whole money should be refunded to save us from going through ways that we probably shouldn't be going through to get to it. And so we have moved our reunion to another place, so we prefer to think we should get the whole $100 back as a good neighbor in town. With the road construction and stuff, it'd be nice to get all of it back, but that's up to you guys here to vote on, you know. And I did talk to Marlene Kramer. I see what's listed here. I talked to her today too, which has it reserved. And she said also she didn't think it was fair not to get all the money back with the road construction and everything going on. And I see what's indicated here. It's different from what I heard from her, so I can't speak for her, but she does not agree with the idea of not getting 100% of the money back. So I would like you to consider giving all of it back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to tag on. So I read the memo that was in the council packet as well, and I was the person that spoke with Nikki Mononoke on the phone, so I just wanted to tell you I'm that guy. There was nobody in the office when I answered the phone, and when Nikki had called, She just had a lot of concerns in regards to the road construction and having access to the park. At the time that I answered the phone, I was under the impression that everything that we'd been told in the office was that we can't tell people they can access the park, especially throughout the summer, because we don't know when it's going to happen or when it's not going to happen and when the driveway is going to be closed. So I had told her, probably incorrectly, that, oh, you probably can have your money back because it's kind of a one-time hardship year with 136 happening. Let me talk to, Kathy is who I said, let me talk to Kathy when she gets back, because she was supposed to be back soon, to see if that would be an issue to give you your full refund back, and kind of apologize for the situation. She also said that she had multiple people coming in from out of town. A lot of people were elderly, and she was concerned about trying to figure out how to route them in a certain way to get around to get to the park. And in my brain, it was that we had to go into the park from the upper side. So I was trying to picture like people not being able to pull up to the park and getting there, especially at the end of July. So I just wanted to let you know that I was the one that did that and told her that she could probably have her money back. So if you have any questions for me. But I did, after the meeting, also speak to Fred, Matt, Kathy, to ask if any of them were aware, because I was completely unaware that they could get to the park. So none of us, in talking to everybody, knew that. So I apologize for that.
Kind of the same deal. I had several of the pickleball people ask me how to get to the park, and I was under the impression it was going to be closed from Bard's all the way up to Bagwoods Alley by Lions there. I more or less told people, park on Hay Street and walk down. It's kind of what we were told originally, so I just assumed, since the road closed signs are there, that the road's closed. So.
Yeah. I think this is kind of extenuating circumstances with
That's fine.
everything going on.
No, it's the policy, so if it wants to be changed, it's fine, but it's not our responsibility as staff to just take that upon ourselves.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how everybody got that, because we've talked at every meeting about it being divided into two parts. And so it's,
What part was going when, and we didn't know the timing or the dates.
everybody at the pre-construction meeting, which you were both at the pre-con meeting, and it was, we asked, we don't need to argue. If you guys want me to fund it, it's fine. It's just that at the pre-con meeting, when we asked, when will the south half be closed, which we kept saying was from the Stalls intersection, it was not until at least August. And that was said by Midwest at the pre-con.
I apologize, I don't remember that. What I remember is that nobody knew which part was going first and which part was going second.
After the pre-con, for everybody, which you and Matt both attended that was correct. And Fred, I think you were there as well. So that's, I guess in the future, I would just say, obviously, it still comes back to the council if people are requesting it, because we need to follow the policy that was adopted until somebody else makes that decision. But I guess with regard to construction, if people have questions, please ask before we say stuff, because,
Yep, I've already apologized.
yeah, I didn't ask you to apologize. It's just, that's why it didn't matter who said it. That's why I didn't put that you said it in there, so.
Because,
So-
because the people who actually rented it did not have that knowledge, or may have been misled by, various city, unintentionally misled, I would say it'd be wise to go ahead and make full refunds.
That's fine. We
And
can.
if somebody in the future decides to cancel it for the same reason, I would say we just have to acknowledge that we've got an unusual situation this year.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate that you're following the policy that we have in place, but I do think this is an extenuating circumstance with the construction but I agree, like, it was divided. I feel like we've known from the beginning that it was going to be divided into two. But to everybody else's point, like, we weren't sure when and what part was going first. So, yeah, I do think that given the extenuating circumstance, it's very reasonable to give a full refund.
It's fine. We can do that.
I agree as well.
It will be done at the next, they've already both, Marlene is on the bills for tonight, so we can just, I can't change it because Kathy's gone, so they'll, one already got their 75, one will get it tonight, and then we'll just add the 25 in July.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Before we get to the consent agenda, I'd like to commend the fire department and EMS people for a tremendous job at the house fire a week ago, under less than ideal conditions. When you see what those people do, you have a whole different feeling for what that service is to the community. It was absolutely amazing what they did on that day. And also Bucky Monarnock for the use of his sky lift, that was very good too. So just everybody did a tremendous, tremendous job.
Fred and Brad too. I know you guys were there quite
Yeah.
a while. So
Yep.
We had a state trooper and also a Butte County deputy and a Jones County deputy for a while also.
Yeah.
It was just a tremendous thing to watch everybody at work and then just seeing the community in the area and everybody kind of just jumped to and everybody was looking out for everybody. It was a fantastic thing to see.
It is. Thanks, everybody that was involved. Consent agenda, minutes, city council, 6/10/24, library board, 6/11/24, utility board, 6/13/24, June 24th, 2024 claims. Is there any questions on the consent agenda? Riley?
nope,
Last chance.
Yep.
nothing today.
Thank you. I need a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Roush,
Second?
second by Oliphant, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Number 7, discussion on purchase of camera system from Hawkeye Communication for City Hall, Pool, and Parks.
So we've talked about this at the park board, kind of where we got a little bit more serious. I feel like we had talked about it before then, but the park board obviously discussed it after we had the fire last fall and wanting to make sure that that was at least one of our top priorities. The council is aware that we put it in the budget. And so there's kind of a sprinkling of funds throughout the budget. So we kind of tasked Mike understanding what our needs are. You know, obviously Mike wears a council hat and a IT professional hat, and so he kind of is aware of the different needs that we would have. And so Mike has done some extensive research, came up with this recommendation. So we want him to be able to explain to the council. The utility board is here as well, so that they can hear kind of if we want to expand that, if they choose to expand it to any of their buildings, to be able to understand what that is for them. And then Mike will also be attending the park board meeting. We also encourage the park board to, some of them, well, I don't think there's anybody here, but they can also attend online here, or Mike will be there to answer their questions. And then I also received a request from EMS that perhaps we consider in round 1, at least one camera at their location. So we'll have to look at that, maybe switch the pool. Obviously have to see which cameras, but. So our intent for tonight is for everybody to listen to Mike's presentation kind of on where he was at. And then if the council has any questions that you feel like you want answered in the next couple of weeks, and then the park board will have a chance. And then obviously the utility board, you don't have to make your decision at any time. It would just be add-ons when you decide if you know, we just want to make sure that everyone's under the same umbrella so that it's easy for the police department to be able to access information when they want, not to just have everybody kind of go off and get whatever their systems are. It just makes it more difficult. So from there, I guess we'll have Mike.
So when I started off looking into all of this and kind of taking it into the umbrella of what was required, what we were needing in overall security and going through, the first thing I started with was, well, we're a government facility. We have obviously public areas that we're going to be looking at. So we couldn't just do your run-of-the-mill cameras that you just put up because it's dealing with the public, and we want the security knowing that no one's going to be able to access them, that type of thing, that they're going to be safe, and that someone couldn't just hack into them and use them for their own personal use, especially being in parks and stuff like that. So that was one of the first criteria. So then I started looking at other government facilities and what the requirements for federal or government facilities was, and one of them came down to an NDAA compliancy. And what that is that basically it is a list of compliancy stating that certain countries or certain equipment or certain technologies could not be made into the cameras or the software that goes into federal or other buildings that could make them liable to other countries or make them easily hackable, or so you have to make this list in order to be able to do it. So then I started going from there, looking at different companies that, camera systems and people that did. So then we ended up in 2 areas. We ended up with your conventional NDR type system where the main box that houses all the video is in each site. So then you would go to each site, you'd have to set up that whole system there, and then we could remote to each system individually and going through. So that's kind of the conventional old way. It's what most probably your normal gas stations and a lot of places probably run, and still to this day. So that came with some complications, because when you're in park areas and stuff like that, you got access, you got housing it, you got, if they were to be able to get access to it in those areas, then you have liabilities, or they could take video, or you might not have it. And then backup issues to some type of cloud also came with its own add-on pricing. So then I was looking for more of a, looking at cloud-based. And in cloud-based, there was a lot less companies that carry them that meet the requirements, but it seemed to be the best option, and the evidence that I was showing that basically instead of one system being in each thing, you had each individual camera, and each individual camera just needed to be connected to the internet. And as soon as it goes out to internet, then it's all, you can just keep adding. You can grow with it, you can shrink it down, it doesn't, there's no set structure. Like, you know, if we went and say we put 8 cameras at the park and we decided 4 years down the road we needed 16, we'd have to update all of that infrastructure to a newer NVR that could handle the upgraded cameras, the amount of cameras that we want. Where in this case, we don't have to do that. We just have to get another camera and add them. We can do 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, whatever we want. It would just keep multiplying. And so it makes us more expandable in going through that, and it takes care of our on-site, all we need is internet at the site. And they go into the cloud, it's secured, and going through that way. Now, as for the city and their options, then they just log in, and all the cameras are available. Each camera has got its own recording inside of it, so if power goes down or internet goes down, it records, and then when it comes back up again, it just puts it back up to the cloud. So we have like more of a universal, and if one goes down, they all don't go down. It's just one. So that gave us that seemed to be heading more in a direction. So then I got working with several other companies out there about software, and then looking at the software. And then looking at it from a police perspective of what we could use to utilize, so Fred and them don't have to go, Brad don't have to go running house to house looking at all the Ring cameras. That gives them some areas that they could go to in town as we do this. And the software out there for a lot of the cloud-based ones that I ended up kind of landing on, they had where we have to be able to search by, you know, color of hair, code color, car color, and then they also had the ability to read license plates. So that was another option that was added in there that we could do with the software going, and some of it was absolutely amazing in the software that we can do. We have abilities for, like, say, Public Works. So we have all the cameras up here at City. Well, say Public Works only wants to be able to see their area that they're covering. Then we can have logger use-ins that they log in, they can see their own cameras for their own area and so forth. And we can add that on for other municipalities and everything else as well as it goes down the road and add cameras on. So it gives us this expandability it goes through. So then I started looking at companies that meet these requirements in the area. I only found one in the general area and then one in further out in Illinois, which they every time I sent out for a request for a quote, they didn't get back to me. I'm open to looking for more, but they're based out of Cedar Rapids. This was the closest company that could come and would give us the quote and go through. With that in mind, and anybody got any questions?
Can you explain a little bit about like how you brought the gentleman through?
Yeah.
And
So
like
I
how you
brought-
picked the number of cameras or how
Right.
they work?
So as you look at someone here, like this individual one up here, some of the pricing too, we'll get a little confused because it says a 4-head camera. Well, I mean, it's basically one camera with 4 heads. So you're basically getting 4 cameras. I mean, you're getting shots in almost a 270-degree angle that goes through. So I brought him gentleman down to the park, and we kind of looked at that one light fixture there that covered the entire front of the park, and then the back by the bathrooms where they come in through, and then would catch probably a little bit of the power station there in that intersection and go through. But we'll have like basically that whole street and all of the park front and back. And that would cover 2 full camera systems in there with those heads that are on there. So then we went down to Riverview. I took a look at one of the main ones. I wanted one for Fred, and that was also at Riverview, was for Fred and Brad to be able to, right as they come into the park, you know, every car that comes in, it'll catch a license plate coming into the park, going out of the park. It'll catch the whole parking lot area. Or New City, sorry. Yeah, and same with, as they come to some of the intersections, they'll be able to pick up license plates if they need to. It gets the whole parking area, and then trees were a problem over in that area, so we kind of angled out off of the pavilion on one direction, catching kind of the ball diamond and that area, and then over by the pickleball courts, and then obviously we had the whole way coming down to the parking lot there, and we figured if we need, we'd see where that look gave us, and then see if we needed to expand after that. And then obviously the City Hall was pretty straightforward. We kind of went off of the city where Fred would be coming out of his office straight down, could see the intersection, can see the whole parking lot out here. So we kind of get a all the way view coming out this way, almost all the way around the building. And then inside it would just be the main doors coming inside the doors that you could see. There'd be 2 cameras coming in. So, and they're multi-headed cameras too, so we kind of catch up. And the one out on the front side will have license plate recognition, so that coming in and out of the intersection would pick up a lot of that too.
Explain that the sound is turned off.
Yeah, they are defaulted with no sound, which honestly, there's no reason for sound. I mean, in most cases and instances, it's not going to be something that's going to be. I mean, the only time I can think of it'd be useful would be maybe in like a retail environment where, you know, hearing the conversation that's at the front desk that they're talking about. But any other time, you would actually pay to have that turned on. So, I mean, they have the capability, but it's not a feature that's on or will be on. I don't think it's something that needs to be on, especially in parks or whatnot. What people are saying or talking about is not, and same as here in City Hall. It's just a matter of who's coming and going. That's basically what Fred needs going on. I'm assuming, remember correct on that, Fred? It's basically for surveillance is basically who it is, license plate.
It'd be nice to see who's coming and going.
Right, right. So then you would, like in this case, you would have a login to be able to check the, you know what I mean, when you need it.
The high school has cameras, a lot of times we log in there and look at what's going on around.
Right, right.
So I think our intent was that the PD would have access to every camera. And like, they're not checking with anybody, so if something happened at the park, and
Right.
it was at night, Brad can go look as soon as he can.
So one of
Fred,
the
whoever.
other features, and I know I didn't get to talk about this, that we can set on here too, which will help Fred a lot, is they have the ability to take in sound, like I said, where it's not like a visit, but they can be set to where if it were like a gunshot going off, Fred could get an alert that the sound system at the park picked up a gunshot. And alert him to, then he gets an alert that comes up that says, hey Fred, you should go check out the park. There was gunshots observed or something similar to it in that area. So a loud, sharp noise like that, they can be set to pick up to. Yeah.
Do you want to come up here, just because the
Yep.
world outside can't hear you?
Yep. No.
No, I just was wondering, is there one monitor or who's monitoring it? When you said Fred can zoom in, is there one location?
No,
where you can go online?
it is a web base that you log into.
Okay,
That,
all right.
so,
That's
you know,
what I was just
yeah,
wondering.
yep.
So if you,
Who had access?
So Fred could be in his police car, pull it up, and if he heard it, he could check the cameras there real quick to see if he's seen anything, and if he's seen something suspicious, he could go down there, or vice versa, or whatever. You know, he could check it from wherever he's at, and go for there. So like if they're on call, they don't have to just come back here to check it out.
so then that's where we're saying, like, and then it can have a hierarchy. So if we had one at Public Works or EMS, we could give them exclusive access to theirs. If you decided to go with the utility, Chantel or Matt or whoever can have access to yours, so that you can have, the PD would obviously have access. Well, you can decide if you want them, but I would assume we want Fred and Brad to have access to everybody's, and then there'd be a hierarchy to who has access from there. You'd kind of chunk them up.
And then as time goes by and we look at different areas where we got blind spots, or we can see as we go down the road, we can add or remove, you know, I mean, Because I mean, like I said, that's the great thing about them. As long as we got internet power there, we're good. That's it.
And the phone company for our public places, they've been applying for a couple grants, and Chris Summerall and I have been working on this together, that they really want to partner with us. And so as we present this to the public, if the council decides to go forward, it would be a partnership with the phone company, and then they are installing infrastructure right now into the two parks. Obviously, we have appropriate internet here. If we decided next summer to go with the pool, I know that the utility board, you don't have, the internet is in many places, so that would be a decision that would come along with yours, is if you wanted it at the warehouse and there's no internet. But like, one of the things I know, like, so if they had the internet, say, at the warehouse, that they only wanted to be used for this, obviously, it can be limited internet where it doesn't become a Wi-Fi for employees because they don't have a computer down there, for
Correct.
example. So you don't, I know that's been one of your, like, where do you put it? Correct? Well, you don't have the internet in other places except for the, right. So just saying that you could, that'd be the only thing on top of, I think, every place that we're looking at right now, we either have the internet or it's being upgraded, so.
Yeah. What about the pool quote?
I'm also on the park board.
So when I went down to the pool, I kind of just, we were kind of just brainstorming when we walked in there where we were places, kind of get an idea of how many cameras to go through. When we came down to, I figured we could figure out exactly where you wanted them mounted for sure. But we just figured, if for safety reasons, maybe one outside the front door, people coming and going, the main area where the kids are serving food or taking concessions, and then obviously the entire pool area was the general thought on when we were looking at it.
Was it 3 cameras there?
Pool area is,
I think it's the top 3, right? A 3-head, a dome, and another dome.
yeah,
So yeah, I think we thought front door, concession, and then the main,
right.
And then
the
if
main
that-
pool area would have a 3-headed camera. That
kind
would-
of from the manager's office looking out.
Yeah, off of that there. So it would hopefully catch everything.
And the same thing, like if that didn't span out big enough, you could eventually,
What
like,
should
add
be-
it over to the
with
mechanical
3 heads,
building.
it should be, we should be a full,
Right. It might have to be like on the fence, maybe, like, I don't know, you just have to decide where.
yeah, we can do, as long as, like I said, as long as we got internet there, and I've talked to Ben with Cascade Communications, we just have to let them know where we need it at. Working to get it there, it's not gonna be
Goodness, with all the excitement we've had at the pool, I wish we could get the cameras up and rolling there.
I know.
Sooner rather than
That's what
later.
we said, but then by the time it was the lead time from when the council decides, we're basically looking at the last couple of weeks of the summer.
Right, this company right now, to give an example, they're finishing up, they're working with the city of Hiawatha, they're doing theirs, going through, so this is not their first city, or it's a pretty common system that's going in for a lot of them. The gentleman who ran me through all the stuff is one of the head guys at the base is out of Texas, and is what most of their municipalities and stuff run in Texas. It's the same software. He was a sheriff for years and years and years, and is one of the big proponents of that. He's very, very high into that, likes it a lot. So it gives, especially for police, it gives them a lot of tools.
Mike, I see the recurring charges, almost
Yes.
half that is license plate recognition.
Right, so if you look on certain cameras, you'll see that it'll list down below there that one or more cameras will have the license plate recognition. So there are software fees. So the software fees come in not just for the software itself yearly, but we also have, the way I set it up with them is, and if we need more, we can talk about it, but for each area that we have about a month of cloud storage video for each thing, so we have a full month to go back and look if something were to come up and go through. Hoping that would be, so that has a lot to do with.
But do the
Are you
cameras?
saying the licensing fee because it says licensing there?
Yeah.
That's not for plates, that's just the licensing of the cameras.
Of the cameras, yes.
That's not
Oh.
the auto.
Yeah.
That's just like what they're
It
calling.
is confusing.
And then
Yeah.
Fred, I thought a month, like, if we need to know something, you're most likely gonna know within 30 days that you need to go back.
Yeah. Because obviously, as you know, and these are all going to be, motion activated most of the time to try to save space, so it's not constantly rolling, but motion activated. But you start getting out a month, the amount of data that's taken in. These aren't, these aren't low-quality cameras, these are 4K cameras too, so what they're taking in is quite a bit.
But
So,
the,
size-wise.
but the one charge, or one recurring is license plate recognition license
Yes.
for $300 per area. So that is recognizing
License
and
plates.
identifying the,
Yeah, so if you look at this one, like take for example, the City Hall, it has covering main entrance here. You can see where I'm pointing at right here on the screen there. 270-degree camera, lands will have license plate recognition. So on the ones, that's one of them, and then, let's see if there's another one there.
Most of them do
Pool.
not have.
Yeah, the pool does not, the one at City Hall does, I think,
Wasn't there a couple at the parks?
Park,
but each one of those, it's costing $299 annually for the.
Yeah.
For the.
So, I mean,
license plate.
if it's something that you don't think we'll need to go through, it's just something nice for them to be able to just pull it up and it will run the plate.
And we only have those at the
2 parks.
two parks, not
And
just.
City Hall.
And City Hall.
Like
And is
obviously
it-
inside City Hall, you're not gonna pay for that.
But
No,
the
and
outside,
So would that be facing the main intersection?
right, so it's gonna catch.
So you'd almost- you'd
plates
pick up-
coming in and out, yeah, so even if it got missed at some place when he's coming up, they're coming up the main drag or coming through, that, it'll catch that plate going through.
It probably wouldn't catch north and south on 136 though.
Right.
It would
Because
catch
obviously
First
the pla-
Avenue.
You can't see the plates.
Yeah.
Is it just a matter of seeing the plate, or actually, I mean, do you get a log of everybody who passes by?
You can search that way.
You can search by the plate number. So like when Fred goes in and it comes through in video. So the way I envision this as a city, that I don't envision or I don't want, I wouldn't think anybody else would either, that we would be looking at these based on incidents. So when Fred has a call or an issue that he has to look up, so he's going, he's looking for a vehicle. So if he thinks this is the plate number, he could type in the plate number and the software will jump and give him every video that plate has been in, if he had the plate number.
For the last
If-
month.
Yeah, for the last month. Now, if he's got a white truck, 1997, blah, blah, he can type in white truck pickup and it'll pull up every video of a white truck that has come by, and then the video comes up, it'll have the license plate of that vehicle. So then he has the plate. He doesn't have to try and zoom in, it'll just identify it.
So you can search by color, type, and plate. So like we had one issue that was in the evening, so I know Brad was working on it. And he knew from a private business's camera that it was a white pickup truck. And there was like a unique identifying rust spot or something like that. But business cameras are not that high of quality, so he could never get the plate or never see the person clearly. And so even if you knew that they left the east end of town, we also have a couple businesses that have cameras on First Avenue. Same thing, it's like very residential style, stuff like we have at our houses, blink cameras, ring cameras. And then Brad could see from that person's camera that the person came down First Avenue from the east end and could still see the truck. But then that's the end of the story, because there's nothing that has that kind of quality to be able to help us. And so, same thing, like if he only knew it was a white truck, like if he had time, or if he leaves that for Fred in the morning, whatever it is, they can search that. You might have only a partial identification, like I'm sure sometimes people call the PD and say, this just happened and I could see it was a ES. So you can say like search for ES, and then it'll see any of those that it can recognize.
Right.
Fred, do you think that having them at both parks is necessary? I mean, I like the idea of City Hall because it captures the,
And I guess expanding on that question, is there anywhere else that you think we're missing that?
I'd really like to see more of them at the edge of town. The last few burglaries that we've had, the major things that we've had, even the incident with the park last year, it's a 9-year-old kid, and kids moved out of town. We haven't had an issue down there since. If there was one down at the park that actually faced 136,
Like they're
or
coming in or out.
coming in or out, that would be great, so we could see if a vehicle was coming north or south on 136. If we had something at the stoplight, maybe a bubble camera, fisheye type camera, that would, if a car approach that intersection from any direction, it's gonna be able to give us that information, all maybe in one camera. Yeah, as far as Riverview Park, I know KCRG has a camera down there, and their cameras are pretty good. I don't know how well a license plate is gonna be seen if they're on one of the side streets. I don't know how effective the cameras are with the distances or anything are like that, but for sure, I'd try to put at least one down at the community park, something that we could use. If they
With
did
the
have
license
the-
plate?
With the
Okay.
license plate, yeah.
Okay.
So, Riverview Park, not so sure. I mean, a lot of times when we have events down there, the street's closed off anyway. So, yeah, and at the pool, City Hall would, if we had one at the intersection down here, we would need one at City Hall probably then.
Well, if anything happened inside, though.
But like,
Well,
the
I'm
license
talking about the
plate,
license.
just the
Yeah,
license
she's
plate.
just talking
That's what
about
I'm
like
asking
if we
about.
had it there, then we wouldn't have to have it on the one out here.
So if we had, but if we had one doing the north-south at the park, New City Park, and then we had one that was getting more of the east-west here at City Hall, do you think we'd be okay? If we couldn't do the bubble
Yeah,
camera?
if we could, that's a possibility, yeah.
Okay.
It's more like, I think they have them, it's just like where, and then the company will tell you like which kind of camera to point in what direction. But the other thing to remember about the intersections, which is fine, but then we have to get the internet there. And so, like, part of where we picked is like that we have a place to be able to store. You can't just be like dangling out in the world. So whether that means we can use one of the businesses on the corner as like a housing location.
And they may have
Yeah.
some type of network
have
right
something.
there too. I don't know. I don't know about, we'd have to check with Cascade Communications to see what they got.
I think when we talk about the street ones that you're talking about, we talked about here, and then at some point, again, it doesn't have to be, like, and that's the thing that where Mike's trying to make sure that whatever we get, like, we start a system that can continually, like, if we're like, all right, this is overkill at the park, take them off and put them somewhere else. But I think we also talked about 151, like, basically somewhere at the two, like, ways of coming into town off
And
the
that's-
highway.
Yeah.
Whether it was like
That
Herb
seems-
Green and Weber's, McDermott's type.
Seems where we can get them going on this side of town, past the BP station or past the high school, and then we have no idea after that.
Right. So I think that would be, like, from a just police traffic, I think at least, you know, Brad had mentioned those intersections as well.
Yeah. Coming in and out of town, that's kind of where our main concerns would lie.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay.
And I know, talking to Brad, he actually, when he first started doing courthouse security in Jackson County, it's kind of what they did is they experimented with them a little bit, but some of the first cameras they bought were for law enforcement so that they could identify which way vehicles were going. And I was telling Riley before the meeting, we actually bought a couple Spy Point cameras earlier this year, and I want to get a couple more. They work off the cell tower. Brad loves them. He comes in, grabs one, makes sure it's charged up, pops it in the location. If there's any activity there, it's going right to the phone. So, and I know somebody else that's got them. They actually have them set up so that they'll be taking pictures and then they download to the phone every 2 hours. So, they're pretty decent cameras too. We got 2 of them in spare batteries for a little over $500. So that's kind of my plan, once we get into the next budget year, is to get a couple more of those.
That's more like for specific, like where you can move them
Yeah.
around easily. So if there was a business that was having issues, they can take them to that spot and they're,
And I know Brad was putting them down at the compost site for quite a while, and car would pull in, phone would ring, he'd look at it, write down, and,
Perfect.
yeah.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions, Mike.
Yep. Yeah. Shoot it at me.
Is it Wi-Fi or do they have to be hardwired?
These ones, they have an option for Wi-Fi, but I don't recommend.
Okay.
A hardwire, when you get into Wi-Fi and you have Wi-Fi susceptible devices, it opens the door that allows them for more ability to be hacked.
Okay.
Having a hardwire straight in and that being the only access they have to internet is the better route.
Okay. So that's my first question. How long are the cameras actually good for?
How many years?
Yeah, like, do they come with like a 1-year warranty or, well, so it's a warranty, do they come with a warranty at all? And like, are they only rated for 5 years or?
I think they had a 5-year. I don't think I have that on here. I'd have to pull that up.
I don't see anything.
Yeah.
So you can ask that
I'll
for
have
the
to
next
get that
meeting.
one back to you. I'll get that answer to that question, what the full warranty is and what it all includes.
And then my last question is, are we getting a discount for doing so many at once? Or is it the same whether we do 5 now and 5 later? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's the same.
Okay.
I don't think there's a discount. I'll ask him if we did more, if he would do, or what, if they have a threshold that they would give us a discount on for doing multiple. I just think because this company does do a lot of municipalities, I don't think they do, but.
Okay.
Can you also, when you ask, find out if we were to do it at the pool, like with the internet, for example, like we shut it off for 9 months? So can we just say, like,
Oh.
once the pool's not open, like we could kind of deactivate and not
Or
pay?
move it? Like, could we move that one to somewhere else for the 9 months of the year?
Maybe pay them to come out and move it though, that's the only issue.
Oh,
But it's worth asking.
If we're not using it, I'm just saying, like, if we move it, yeah, then just whatever. But if we
do
don't
they have
move
to
it,
come move it, or is that something Mike does, or, sorry, Mike, to throw.
No, it's fine. It's once they're mounted, I honestly, as long as we had another area to put them on, mount or go through, I don't think it would be a very big issue
Okay.
for moving them. I'll double check on that for sure, but it shouldn't be anything that we can't just, with a ladder and a few tools, take down.
but if we're not gonna move them and they're just gonna stay dormant, then I
If
would
they're just gonna
see
be
if we can
dormant.
get a 1/4 of the annual price and
Yeah,
basically
absolutely.
deactivate them or something for 9 months.
Anything else?
Chantal, do you have questions, Chantal?
I have a couple questions. Can you explain, like, when I look at, I'll just start with City Hall, and you look at the different kinds of cameras, where it has like 1 and 2 and 2, can you explain kind of like what those are doing? Because when I was here for a brief hot second, when the guy was walking through with you, can you
Mhm.
explain like how you're gonna be pointing them and what views they're gonna be seeing inside City Hall?
Okay, so, back here, if I City Hall.
Because it says like the different heads and the different,
And I think some of it's like if you can get
like
behind.
dome versus,
Right, so the dome cameras, generally, we're going to be in the door here, up in this area, so it was pointed at, so you would catch this coming in entrance here. So when we were going out on this side of the building by Fred's, it would catch down the front of the City Hall, and then, like I said, to the stop area, and then the multi-head camera would be out here. There's one more dome that we were thinking, where the entrance is to go down to the gym. That little, when you walk in that front door, there's that little square that you kind of walk in and we wouldn't catch that angle coming through there. So we thought if we came this direction from that, where you go into the gym and shoot out that door, that entranceway there, then we would catch that pocket and we'd catch anybody coming in the door there. So then you would have the main entrance area, the other main entrance area, and then down the street.
so like you were
another
standing in
one.
my window and you had a camera pointed like this way. Were you trying to catch the doorway?
Yeah.
Were you trying to catch the hallway?
The
Like-
doorway.
Okay.
That-
I'm just trying to
that-
figure
that'd
out
be-
like how it runs.
Yeah, so that,
You're
if
trying to get
somebody,
from entrance
when
to
somebody
down the
comes
hallway.
up the sidewalk
Yes.
and they walk into between the pillars to the front door there,
Yeah.
they kind of disappear off camera then. This camera here then picks that up coming in the door.
But then you have outside as well.
Right, so we have
Down
going
the
down the
street.
sidewalk, yep, and down the street. But
And
then
can
we
you
have
see the
that-
2 front counters? Like if Chantel was waiting on somebody or Kathy was waiting on someone?
I'm assuming by the direction coming out the door that you would see them walk in and you would probably see off onto the right, the counter area there, but not probably in your window. They probably went I don't know if they'd be able to see you standing there, but they'd see who was standing there. But as they come in at the counter, and as obviously this one's gonna be sitting here facing that doorway going out, you'd see who comes in and comes up to the counter, but that's about it.
And then on the bottom part where it says assumes the internet and PoE switches, like what all is that? Like, what are the PoEs?
Oh, okay, so when I
know what
talked
the
to
internet
Ben at
is.
Cascade, so, power over Ethernet is how the cameras are powered. So, what that requires is that, when the internet gets to the area, there's a little box or a switch, and it's what they call PoE. And what that is that internet comes in there, power goes into the switch, and it runs power and internet through the Ethernet cable to the camera. So then it powers it and gives an Ethernet. So there's one cable running to each camera, nothing else.
So you don't have to have like a normal power cord like you would
Right.
with your
No,
laptop.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was
Yep,
additional
that's-
costs that we
No,
needed
no.
to take into consideration.
So, when I talked to Cascade Communications and me and Ben talked, he would have, the idea was is that we're gonna plug in the cameras, that we would have a PoE Ethernet connector at that point. So when they show up here, then all they do is mount the cameras, run the cord to the PoE power switch, and bang, they're done. That's it. So they just do the mounts and everything. We'd have what they needed at the areas.
And can you explain, like, I think you told me there's like a box, like a hub, basically, at each location. So you had talked about, like, over on Chantel's side is like our server little area in the corner. So there's a box that everything gets wired to from the cameras in this building?
It's basically how the internet runs through the whole building, and it's in your area over there. It's where the server is and everything's sitting there. There's a switch. And here, in this place, there will be another box that'll sit up there that'll, the Ethernet will run into, the PoE is power, and then it'll go out to the cameras. So we'll run that out some way up to the...
So there's wire up and through the ceiling,
Yeah. out to
and then
the
it'd come out the
existing
ceiling
places.
to there, and the one by the gym, and something out to the edge where the outside one is. And then, like, at the two parks, that was where we had to have, like, something either at the concession stand or the bathroom
Right.
building or the other bathroom building by the amphitheater. Like, there has to be a place, which is where we have to kind of figure out, I guess you have to ask on your list about
Right, 'cause
intersections.
anywhere we go, like if we decide we want it out on a pole all the way out there, we have to talk to Cascade Communications about getting Ethernet to that pole. I mean, that's just, you know.
And part of their grant stuff that they're working on, and they also through the Economic Development Corporation, they sent money to the DRA to do like downtown internet, so hopefully
Yeah, they are.
that
wor-
if there
they are
was, like
working on
Fred,
it.
if that was Fred's priority to have it at the intersection, then hopefully we can make that be a spot.
Do you know what timing they have on their grants and stuff?
The DRA that they applied for, we find out in about a month, like July 23,
I'm just
6.
thinking of like the parks, like if there's all the stuff they have to dig in order.
Well,
for
that, they're
internet to-
doing that right now. The parks are not an issue.
Because they're paying for all of that, or?
The park board's paying for that? Or
No,
who's
the
paying?
Cascade Communications is committed to helping us.
Oh,
So they're
awesome.
putting,
I didn't know what you meant by helping when you said that earlier, like that they're fully paying for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
that's why this is gonna be, if you decide to go ahead, like, this is the
Right.
city of Cascade and Cascade Communications, like, ramping up security in our community. You're paying for all, our end of it, and they are contributing their portion to be the internet.
Wow, I apologize if I missed that. That's
That's huge.
amazing.
I missed
That's
that too.
incredibly generous of Cascade Communications.
I thought it
Chris
was
is-
awesome, because when I talked to Ben, I told him, I said, if there's gonna be cost to this, and Ben said they were gonna talk, and he didn't, he thought they were probably going to try and work with the city to try to do it.
Chris just wants,
pretty
like,
amazing.
it's very important to him, like, he's very community-oriented, and just said, like,
Yeah.
hey, we just want to make sure that, like, people know we're doing this together, because we want to see
Yeah, no, that
safety
they-
as well, so.
And it is a huge thing, and that's why it's also important when we decide, you know, I kind of like to think of it as like peeling an onion. We kind of pick our starting zones and what we want to prioritize right now. And then, like I said, this being able to build, then we kind of go, okay, then Fred and Brad can evaluate, then the city can evaluate, then, you know, everybody involved can evaluate and say, oh, I think we need another camera here. Because if Cascade Communications is going to be investing in getting us internet to those areas, we need to be very tactical about, you know,
Where?
not wasting their time and energy about
Absolutely.
doing it, and making sure we're not, you know, being a hardship on them in that aspect.
You know, it really is the wave of the future for cities.
Yeah, when, in all the conferences I went to, for, the city and government stuff, the main example used right now in all of Iowa is Dubuque.
Is what?
And is Dubuque. Dubuque County is the #1 city. It is the city that everybody's looking at. It's the city that Illinois is even looking at, and other cities, because they have the per capita, the biggest amount of cameras in their law enforcement. And I can tell you that the gentleman who used to work for me, he is now the assistant prosecutor for Jackson County. one of the things he said when they went into court into Dubuque for a lot of criminal cases and so forth is that the amount of video, you know, it was hard explaining to it because he was at that time he was defending, and he said it was really hard to talk to your clients and they'd be like, well, I didn't do it. And he's like, well, they just sent me over video, you're doing it, right? You know, because they do track pretty quickly and through the city very quickly, and that it really does help Dubuque a lot. And like I said, all the other cities in Iowa, it's a very large topic that they're moving to the same direction and using Dubuque as an example.
Can I speak just a minute?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to come up here as the prior principal of Cascade High School. We probably put 45 cameras into my tenure, and we made a few mistakes, and so that presented us with opportunities to grow and get better at doing this. But I did want to just say that, Mike, it sounds like you've really addressed a lot of the things I would have said that you need to look at. So, spent a lot of time peering through cameras trying to figure out what that license plate was. So that's a good thing. And one of the things that we learned too is to really heavily rely on our law enforcement, consult them thoroughly, and I think you're doing some of that. We had Dubuque County come and look. We had Fred in there just to make sure that we were catching all the views that were important, things like that. We focused on our safety and security issues. I think your hallway views out here, from what I understand, makes sense. I'm also up here tonight as a member of the CMU board, and we want to, our opinion is that we should not have any views of interior office spaces. I'm not, from what you're telling me, I don't think we do.
No.
We just
I
feel
don't
like,
think that'd be an intention or.
yeah, I just feel like that could be a problem for patrons, could be a problem for
Yep.
employees either way, so, you know, things on computer screens, whatever. So we're just wanted you guys were aware of that was our point of view, and I was asked to deliver that.
Yeah.
Unless you have any questions for me, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Two more questions I have for you, Mike.
Yep.
Do we have one on the money drop outside?
Yeah, the money drop coming in, we'll be able to see coming through those doors, we'll be able to see anybody walking up. I mean, it's pretty clear glass coming up there, and then we'll be able to see anybody that comes into the parking lot.
Okay.
So that's why, because you know how we got through those pillars on both sides, that's why I wanted one facing each door as they come in, and then we get the parking lot on the outside of the building, so that should cover, and it also covers that exit coming down by the gym down there, in case
Okay.
somebody were to.
Perfect. And then the last question I have, are we planning to put the same system into the library and around the library? This is kind of the go on it to see how well it works, but if so, I would recommend it. Okay.
Because then we're in one universal
System.
unit going out and gives us more options as far as a city building. Everything goes smooth and everybody's happy with what we go. You know, that's why I kind of want to start small and not do everything all at once, and just make sure we that way we get a chance to learn it, see it, move on, go through, we don't go crazy.
Okay. Works for me.
So you'll get, you have your list of questions, and you can get them to me, and I can email them to everybody.
Yep.
And then,
And I will, in the meantime, also see if I can find another company that is similar and can do the same, meet the same criteria, and that we have to compare pricing wise to kind of get through. But for most of what I've seen, it's pretty comparable, and it's not like there's huge up and downs in the market. I mean, they're pretty.
yeah, I think what's hard is, it's not the kind of thing that you can just put out an RFP and,
Right.
you know, it's just not that way, like because every system's a little bit different, so you're
Yep.
gonna write it for one company or you're not comparing apples to apples, so I I know Mike's spent probably 6 months working on this, so.
It's been a lot of phone calls, a lot of videos, and a lot of meetings. Well, you know, and I want to express this. When I went into this thinking I was fully putting on my city councilman hat, and I just want to make sure that we take very seriously that we are going to be monitoring public arenas, and that we are going to put all the safeguards in place that, you know, protects the public and allows our law enforcement to do what we want them to be able to do in the time they need to be able to do it. And so I don't want to show up here with a system that they're not going to be able to fully utilize. That I think that's the main goal of everything, is that Fred sits down in front of his computer and goes, I like this. You know, that's the main goal, you know, that helps him do his job better.
Especially when You know, we're not a full-time law enforcement city, so it really is a tool that,
Yeah.
you know, there's one person and they know where we are, so it'll help a lot, I think.
Any other questions? No? Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mike. Great job.
Thanks.
Being that it is my last minute, I do want to say, like, awesome job. I appreciate it, and like, I am 100% behind it. I think it's something we definitely need in our community.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely help up the ability for Cascade's Police Department to be able to keep the community safe. I think it'll definitely. And I think, you know, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day too, in that aspect, is that once stuff starts rolling and once Fred and Brad get to utilize a lot of this and word gets out about Cascade that like, hey, you come down there and you mess around, you know, I think that does help
Deter it.
deter. You know, that there's very likely that you're gonna get caught.
Thank you.
Yep.
Number 8, consideration of ordinance number 13-24, grass height restriction, 8-inch maximum height, and this is the final reading. Is there any questions? Seeing none, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Gail,
Second?
second by Oliphant. Roll call.
Oliphant,
Yes.
Roush,
Hi.
Hush,
Aye.
Gale,
Aye.
Delaney.
Hi.
What is funny? What's happening?
Come for the eye.
Oh, I was like, what? Did I say something wrong?
Favor.
Number 9, consideration of resolution number 67-24, approval and change order number 2, Highway 136 construction.
So to clarify, I had to go back and ask why we were at change order number 2 before I came here, so I was like, wait, we never approved number 1. But when we advocated to the state to help pay for stormwater, remember when we had the county loan, or the county was gonna pay, and then it kind of turned into like, oh, wait, you guys didn't have the state let it, and then we weren't eligible for the money. So that was technically the change order. So it was not a financial thing that we were approving. So that's how we got to number 2. And then the amount is $30,095, unfortunately. And there's only so much that we can do in the field, and the error that we just didn't have the information for was that we thought all the sanitary mains were 10 inches, and they were 12. And so if you understand, like, they form manholes that are already pre-cut, and so those were incorrect. So when you kind of look at the detail on, at first, we were kind of sticker shock, and so we asked Midwest to go through the detail of how they got to that number so that Cody and Jake could review it. And after comparing some of the other bids, prices that are out there for other projects, MSA has deemed that it's an appropriate amount and recommending that we approve it.
I guess I'm really surprised that apparently they went off our map, but they also did a survey. They were all their own survey data.
Yeah, you'd go down in the manholes and measure the lines,
Yeah, I'm really surprised that,
wouldn't you?
It's unfortunate, but they, I think, did it from the top. And when you're looking down, I think the engineering firm did not go down in the hole. Maybe if they had been with city staff, somebody would have gone down, but unfortunately, we can't go back, and that was long before, that was years ago, because we were supposed to do this last year, so I was not involved in this part, but
I guess I just,
Yeah, if you're doing a survey, you'd go down and verify the size of the lines,
obviously, we paid for it.
instead of looking in through the manhole, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of extra money.
That's a big miss.
I understand. I don't know what to say, except that we gotta do better.
I mean, if you're paying an engineering firm to do due diligence and they're not, that's pretty costly.
I agree.
Okay. Need a motion on Resolution 67-24.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Oliphant,
I'll second.
second by Roush. Roll call.
Roush.
Aye.
Hush.
I,
Gale.
Aye.
Delaney.
Aye.
Oliphant.
Aye.
Number 10, consideration of resolution number 68-24, approval to hire work on Monroe Street resurfacing.
So as I told you, Mark is also here representing Kleesner, who has one of the prices that they gave us if we do asphalt. So first of all, I explained to you last time that part of our bridge inspection, the inspection out on Monroe Street was that they want us to peel back the asphalt, be able to see what the condition of the concrete was, fill in the joints, and then re-asphalt over it. And so we have a price for that. The low price, we got two there. The low price was from Kleesner Construction for $12,920, of which about $9,000 of that is our bridge work. And then we have two patches from over the winter. One is over by the food pantry, and then one is over on Fifth Avenue Southeast. Those will both be billed out privately to the homeowners. So about $3 of that will not be our cost. So that's part of it. And then the second thing, I believe the mayor brought this up first, was as long as we were out there on Monroe Street, that just to the north of First Avenue, where you're between Casey's and the fire station, if you drive on that portion of Monroe Street, it's very deteriorated and cracked up. There is asphalt currently right now, and then there is a concrete surface under that. So when we looked for the price of, that Kleesner's gave us through Mark, it would be portion and then pouring back asphalt. And they went all the way to, basically, it's about 250 feet, which takes you for like the entire big driveway of Casey's. There's a map in there, Mike, I think, if you,
Yep.
yeah. So you can see, this isn't exactly the picture that Mark gave, because his, I guess, had the old Casey's. Yeah. Right. So Mark's goes a little bit further. And then the staff brought up, also looking at, so obviously when we do asphalt, it is a lot more inexpensive, but it doesn't last as long. So you could be 5, 8, 10 years. If you did concrete, it would be 30 years, let's say. So, but it's a lot more pricey. And so we at least wanted to get a comparison of that price. And so we're probably talking $52,000 if we were to do the same distance. Another option, if you wanted to go with concrete, would be to shorten it up. So I think the mayor and I have talked about it with Phil, and I think you can speak, but the mayor thinks asphalt is the right answer, and we at least wanted to bring you the shorter term, less expensive option, and then the much longer term fix, but much pricier, so.
I obviously know nothing about asphalt or concrete, but is there going to be an issue with the asphalt with custom precast?
They are fully aware of all these things. So first of all, we can take the trucks, like they're gonna have some disruption when we do the bridge. So there's that. And they're aware of that, and we're trying, like, when we were trying to coordinate this between Kleesner's and the city, and we'll try to pick a day that's not as crazy. And asphalt obviously has a much shorter cure time. But when we get to the intersection, we can take them around Casey's towards the Legion and go that way while they're doing that. So they still have an option to come
But I was
around.
worried more about the weight of the trucks on the asphalt. Is that going to deteriorate it faster?
Yes, that's what Phil and the guys feel like, is that there's just a lot of turning radius between the fire, Casey's, and then all the trucks coming from Custom Precast. But come up here if you're gonna talk. It's concrete underneath.
Yeah, right there on the.
At the intersection.
There's a panel of concrete shown, but the current surface that's on there is asphalt. So it's basically 2 inches of asphalt over that concrete. It probably last, when did they do that? It's probably lasted
time.
20, 30 years.
Great.
So I mean, as far as your 5 to 7, it's gonna last for sure 10 years.
Yeah, I said
Not-
5,
not
8, 10,
longer.
I don't-
But there is a lot of turning on that radius right there.
And all the concrete trucks that come, I mean, it's just for more of a side road for our community, it's a heavier traveled side road.
There's a lot.
Heavier truck traffic compared to any other side road, even if you just go the other side of the street. People by Lehman's there, so.
And we could mill deeper there and put more asphalt in there too, but the price would go up.
So one of the other things too, like we're paying like $275 per unit over by the bridge because it's a small area. And when they gave us the price for this, they lowered it down, I think it was $217 if we do the whole amount. If we start shortening up the asphalt, then we're gonna get closer by per unit. So just by economies of scale, they have the milling machine out there. It's kind of, if you're gonna do it, it's the better time to get it done, and you get a better price by having it all there in one day and try to make a day of it.
Okay.
How far is the concrete then, going north?
I think it's just at the
You tell me, I mean,
intersection.
you can just see it there, that's the only reason you know it's concrete there. It's where them white marks are by that truck.
Yeah.
And if you drive by, you can see it exposed.
I think it ends right at the radius of that intersection.
there is a distinct line right there.
Maybe by my
Arrow,
first
you can
arrow or
see it.
something, kind of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there might not be any concrete going down the line towards,
North.
Yeah, I would doubt it.
I doubt it too.
Mayor, what do you?
What do you remember, old timer?
Excuse me? I mean, the asphalt, you know, cost-wise is more attractive. If they do a good job of milling and everything, you.
tacking it, you know,
Yeah.
getting it good and clean and tack it.
I mean, if you have that kind of texture after milling,
Right,
it
it's gonna
adheres
drip
really
right
well.
to it, yeah.
It's better than if you're putting asphalt on a smooth surface, then you can get some push and stuff to it.
I think we were thinking too, like, even if technically you can put trucks on it sooner, like if we can let it sit a little bit longer. So again, we'll try to coordinate with precast and with Casey's and completely block that off. The firemen can go out the other way and just give it, you know, if you can do it late in the week,
Well, yeah,
keep it
we're-
closed over a
we're
weekend.
Thinking about doing it this Friday,
if the council, right. So then it can sit for a whole weekend, which would be ideal.
And like
Not
we,
putting any pressure on you, though. We are doing the bridge project, and that's why we want to do this too.
and like we talked, once they do that, to heavily sand the intersection,
That's up to you,
I would.
because there's more than just semis out there. There's motorcycles and mopeds
Yeah.
and, you know.
I mean, you'd do signage.
Yeah. I mean,
What does
that's-
sanding it do?
It keeps,
just let
Protects
truck-
the surface.
let the-
when the
Let the
semis
air
pull
better.
in, it keeps the loaded truck tires from scuffing the new blacktop until it
Just
gets
for a while.
fully set.
But it also causes an issue with bikes,
Yeah, that's the only thing, after we
They
talked,
slow
I just
down.
got thinking.
Yeah.
and they skid a little bit, especially
But
coming in
like I
that-
said, there's
that
signs
Casey's.
out there to do that, put that
Yeah.
there, so you're covered.
I mean, the same thing would hold when they're seal coating streets all over town. You have that same issue.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, they're seal coating streets without
Yeah, true, you're right.
anything.
But you can put the sand on
The mayor can?
it, well, in the city,
You don't want to do that?
no.
I was good with the mayor.
Mayor, I'm a sander.
Where do they go with, do we have the use of the millings that they mill off? Because
We, the
there's,
city, or
What do
we
you want?
Cuisiners?
the what?
Where do you want them?
Well, when you go to the yard waste site and you pull up over the levee, that's all dished out, that'd be an ideal place to put millings. There's different alleys that you could put them.
Let me talk, there's an alley that we've been talking is really bad on this end of town, so let's discuss
Yeah.
that with Phil.
It depends if they come up chunky or if they're fine.
Well, yeah, they're gonna have chunks, it's not gonna be like going through a crusher, so.
Mhm. If they go slow, they tend to be smaller.
So what does the council think? Asphalt, concrete? Probably asphalt.
I'll make a motion for asphalt.
And both projects, right?
Yes. for
The
both
full
projects.
250 feet of the
Yes.
road plus the bridge
Yes,
abutments?
for both projects.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Hush,
Aye.
Gale,
Aye.
Delaney,
Aye.
Alphont,
Aye.
Roush.
Aye. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mark.
thanks for the explanation, Mark.
Number 11, consideration of resolution number 60-24, annual disbursement of TIF rebate for Callahan Construction.
So maybe I'll just explain all of these and then we can have separate motions, or I guess the council could probably do all of them in one, but, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 businesses that are receiving TIF. We kind of, in some of the agreements, it talks about 2 times a year. It just seems easier to do it once. So Callahan Construction is for Riverbend. They are a number of years into theirs. So that's $40,762. Premium Plant gets a tax rebate, and they have the $12,000 job creation, which I'm waiting for their paperwork for their job confirmation. So that's $24,523.50. Centro is also taxes and the $12,000 job creation for a total of $16,970.66. Ahiko Holdings, which is the corner tap room in Happy Joe's building, gets $1,796.79. Cheryl's Flower Garden gets $3,325.26. Those are all ones that have been before, and then this would be the first time for Cascade Storage Facility, which is Eastern Iowa, when they did their expansion. That's $5,985.32. And that will be a much higher number next year. The first year that they get it, there's legal fees that come off of that. That's part of their development agreement, so they're both aware. I talked to Mike as well on his, which would be the $8,923.32. So those would be somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 higher if there wasn't the discount for us paying back our legal fees. So you could either do separate motions for all of them, or I don't think it's improper to do one motion for all of them. It's up to the council.
Does everybody want to bundle them?
I'm good with bundling them.
Okay. Then I need a motion on all the TIF rebates.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Motion by Delaney,
I'll second.
second by Roush. Roll call.
Gale.
Aye.
Delaney.
Aye.
Oliphant.
Aye.
Roush.
Aye.
Hush.
Aye.
Number 18, consideration of ordinance number 15-24, water services, abandoned services, and lead pipes. This is the first of 3 readings.
Gotta get to that page. So when the guys they have to do their annual water and sewer certifications, they go to Manchester, which is where the main DNR office is that we operate out of. They were there back in October and had come back to discuss. Everybody understands the kinds of things that happened with lead poisoning in Flint, Michigan, and that's where we've all had what we call a lead service inventory requirement, which is a nationwide requirement, then administered at the state level. So by October of this year, bless you, by October of this year, we are required in the DNR's system in an online portal to be able to report every single water lateral in the community. And so Marty and Greg, and sometimes Phil, but mostly Marty, had to go through, we basically took a utility billing list, so Chantel was able to say every service that we have that gets water, and then we have to fill out what we know about it. So if we know that it's newer and that it's not lead, we put that on there. If it's unknown, we put that on there. And then once we observe something to be lead, that has to be indicated, or it could also be a galvanized material. And so what's basically coming is that once that inventory is due by all cities, the DNR is asking us strongly to then have local ordinances that mandate what happens when we know that there's a lead service. And so when there's a lead service, we would be saying basically in this ordinance that once we know it's lead, once we've confirmed by our eyeballs that we can see through the staff that it's lead, then you are no longer allowed to fix it. So if something happened to your service, you couldn't just make a repair. The lead has to come out, and the DNR is going to be watching that if we report 100 lead services, that there's a significant effort. It isn't going to be like you have 60 days to replace all of them, but every year that we report, we're going to have to be showing that our lead services are going away. And so what they've asked is, and I sent this to the DNR, and she gave us the okay, but basically, on page 43 there, section 10 and 11 are what we're looking at. So if there's a repair or reconnection to a lead service, it'll now be prohibited. So it says that if we find a lead or galvanized service line that is connected to our distribution water mains, it's prohibited, and that it must be replaced at any time, either part of the service, and it goes all the way from the curb stop, wherever the repair is. And so that all gets replaced. And then the same thing if there's any sort of leaks, it has to be repaired. It says that the method of connection shall, again, comply with any of our codes, and that we, of course, need to know as soon as possible when that is. And that we're making it clear that the cost of such replacement is the responsibility of the property owner, which that's always been that way. And then with regard to abandoned connections up in number 1, we're just making it clear there that, like right now, we already require them to abandon it at what is called the corporation cock, which I gave you that little picture. So for anybody that doesn't understand how a water connection works, that's the point closest to the main. A lot of times you'll hear curb stop, which is really more like the right-of-way line where we can shut you off. But we're clarifying that anytime that a line is abandoned, that we're giving people 6 months to make sure that from the point that they want to abandon a line, that they only have a certain amount of time, which is something that we're not clear on in our code, to be able to get that all plugged up so that our water system is safe and there isn't this water service line that's sitting out there. And then it, of course, says that if they don't do it, that we then can go and do it and assess it to their property, which we would obviously make sure they're notified first. And we used 6 months so that if something happened, like right at the beginning of winter, and you couldn't get out, out there in a frozen tundra situation, that would give them at the latest point where they would need till spring.
What would make it unsafe for us? Like, if they abandon a line, how could that be
So like you
detrimental
have
to
a
ours?
place of infiltration that we don't control in that service. So if something ever leaked in the service, got into it, and then it contaminates our entire main, as opposed to just going into their parcel.
So, I'm sorry, I'm.
It's okay. If you look at the
sounds so dumb.
picture, does that help?
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture, but like, what could leak?
Well, like contamination could get into the pipe, like
pipe will- like
fertilizer,
down eventually,
chemicals,
and stuff can seep into it.
oil.
which would then get into the water that then could.
poisons everybody that gets sent water from that main.
Okay.
So you just
That is
can't
making
have.
more sense now, thank you.
Like when we pulled the houses at the library, like you have to go all the way to the main and cap them off. Like that was part of what Mark did when he took out the houses. And we're just not clear in the code right now, sorry.
In our survey so far, how many houses are either galvanized or lead?
I don't think it's a huge, I don't have the percentage, but we had our first one confirmed. Because none of them, like in our inventory, basically Marty, if he doesn't, like, it's mostly that we're saying unknown. We're not saying lead. So that's where it's hard to say what that number is because we have no idea until time starts to go and that we know.
What year was like the switch from?
1988, they say like if your house was built after 88 or you had a pipe installed after 1988, that's the point with which it shouldn't be lead or galvanized. So like if you had a really new community or like our new subdivisions, like there's no concerns in those areas. So I don't know if it's less than 10%. I'd have to get an answer from Marty and then,
Well, we're supposed to be giving DNR some type of number.
yes. But it's, you put unknown at this point because you don't know that they're lead. So if you know they're not lead, that's good. And then typically you pick unknown for the rest till you know lead. Because unless you're digging up their service, then you don't know. So it's really like a way to get rid of them. But I can get that number to the council. But I'm pretty sure that, I don't think that there's very many at all that we say lead. But there's one that was dug up last week, eyeballs lead. So here we are. And we thought, so I called the DNR and said, all right, what exactly are your requirements going to be? And so the DNR is going to regulate us, and we have to regulate the people. Like the DNR doesn't put a restriction through us to people. They expect us to enforce it, so. And the guys had said that in October, but we kind of had it in our minds, like getting the inventory to them and then kind of tackling it from there. But I said, now that we know that we have one, what are your suggestions? And one of hers was to make sure that we also list galvanized, not just lead. But I can get that number to the council.
Any other
So
questions?
this we can just do as 3 readings if you want. There's no reason to skip.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Delaney,
I'll second.
second by Roush. Roll call.
Delaney,
Aye.
Oliphant,
Aye.
Roush,
Aye.
Hush,
Aye.
Gale.
Number 19, consideration of resolution number 69-24, approval to hire Eastern Iowa Asphalt Maintenance for line painting.
We, as I explained, we had kind of on the short notice before the pool opened, hired Eastern Iowa Asphalt Maintenance, which is part of the Kleesner family. I think it's the brother to China. Steve is his brother. And so they came at the last minute when we didn't really have time to get that new parking area on Second Avenue where we added the concrete next to the pool parking. Did a really great job, very efficient and quick, have like the right equipment to get it done quickly. And so asked them to come through and give us a price. It's just a very busy summer, and so I think it's a good time to be efficient when we already have like a lot of traffic congestion that our guys are like, little bit here, little bit there, like paint a little. And then it's constant watching for traffic and where are the cones. So they'll come in quickly and efficiently and get it done. So that's that price that you have in there. We also asked them for the center line, which they sub out to another company. So we're not recommending that. Phil and the guys thought that we could get away with one more year on the center line on First Avenue. That's really our only center line. So that was another $8,000 if the council wanted to do that. But it would be this 4,965.47 would get every white line for a parking stall, any yellow curbs that are like no parking curbs, so like in front of the coffee shop, tap room on those corners, things like that. All the crosswalks at Ackwen on First Avenue by the elementary school. And so the highway, or the state does 136, so we would be doing the lanes here, like the turn lanes at First Avenue. On First Avenue, those would get done, the arrows. And then over at Lehman's, I think, is our other area where when you turn from Second Avenue on Gary Owen and take a right, and then you're facing Casey's, you know how there's some lane markings there, so that would also be included.
So you said they do the no parking areas, like, are you gonna do, will we have them do, like, next to tap room where there currently is no parking, or are we gonna keep that where it's temporary?
Yeah, they'll paint for what's to come. They're not gonna paint it yellow, because you can't park there
Okay,
now.
good.
The orange signs are working effectively, but no, we're not gonna paint and then unpaint.
Fred, are there any by like the elementary school on like the side streets too?
Yeah, I think we counted 3 or 4, the guys said, that there's crosswalks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went and looked at them all.
And no parking as well. I think a year or two.
They know it's
ago-
on whatever side street, like,
Okay.
you know, it's usually a block off first, I think.
Yeah, because I know, like, I know there's one over at Ackwen, for Little Angels.
That was on the
going
list.
across. I think there's one up a little bit further where they
Garf.
cross by Arthur Street. First Avenue, there's one by Tyler Street, by Harrison Street, and then there's one going across, kind of parallel with First Avenue. There's one there, and I think there might be one at the other end of the block.
Okay.
So there's a few of them there.
And then there's also no parking on Chyler by like Noonan's there, right?
Yeah, we just painted that,
Correct.
though.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
just
that
got-
should be good then.
Yeah, I think they painted.
Sean
on both
just
sides of
painted it.
that, didn't they?
Yeah, well, a different amount, like longer on the west side, but yeah.
It looked pretty fresh, so.
Okay.
Yeah, Sean just painted that.
Gotcha.
But it just, I feel like it's a good investment
Fred.
of our funds to get it done and get it done efficiently when we have a lot of traffic chaos as it is, and see how it goes, and whether it lasts, you know, like the guys do a lot of stuff every year, and I think it's a good
That
investment.
includes the one on Garfield.
Yep,
the-
up by-
And one up by
Yep,
KC Hall.
correct.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, what about a parking lot here?
It is including the parking lot.
Perfect.
And I guess the guys told me that even though it's your side, that when we paint, we do both sides, so it's also including City Hall. So we'll just have to, whatever day they pick, we'll just all park out of here until it dries. But yeah, that was included as well.
When they're painting the center line by Lehman Auto, can they take that center line all the way to the Second Avenue intersection so people know what
Yeah.
side to stay on?
Mm-hmm, yeah,
That would
there's-
be helpful.
yeah.
If you take that all the way to the intersection,
All the way around the corner.
Yeah. so then they know where they need to be.
I think you have to leave something open in the driving lane, though. I don't think you can, because then you're crossing over it.
Like where Monroe would cross.
I would,
They could go up second, just a short distance, I think.
yeah, I just think you
Yeah.
can't like solid line turn it to the east, like then you're crossing over it if you're coming northbound. I don't, whatever, we'll look at it. But yes, we can go further than it is right now for sure.
Gotcha.
So my recommendation is to take that out of Public Works funds and allow them to do that work for us this summer and see how it goes.
I need a motion on Resolution 69-24.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Oliphant,
Second?
second by Hush. Roll call.
Oliphant,
Aye.
Roush.
Aye.
Hush.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Delaney.
Aye. Reports, Fred?
Don't have a report, but a couple citizens brought concerns. I'm not gonna call it a detour on Buchanan Street, I'm gonna call it rerouting and a shortcut. So, because of this no parking on the taproom side of the street, obviously, and then on the opposite side of the street, we have the yellow fencing that's in there. Actually had a citizen ask if we could push that fencing in further. So rather than to pull in the parking spots like they normally did, if they could park parallel along there, which Basically, you could, I think in the front part, you might be able to get 2 vehicles in there. And on the back part, we might be able to get 3 to 5, depending upon the size of the vehicles. If we just push that back far enough, then it's going to allow somebody to pull their vehicle in,
Parallel parking.
parallel parking, and we could maybe just do some temporary lights or some lines there with a cheap paint that's going to last 6 months, maybe a latex paint or something that will wash off. So,
I had the same citizen come to me, and I had talked to Phil, and, you know, we discussed it, like, it sounds easy, but I also think that we have to be concerned about people's habits of pulling in there on an angle, and that, like, it isn't gonna be easy to get those lines that are currently there off. That's a pretty big investment.
But if we put, I'm not so much worried about the lines that are currently there, but if we did, can we do thicker lines of the parallel parking so that they can see what those are? Because, I mean, we need that parking desperately.
you could probably, yeah, I mean, anywhere from, oh yeah, probably anywhere from 5 to 8 spots there, depending upon the size of the vehicle.
That's huge this summer. I mean, with the
Yeah.
downtown businesses and, I mean, Cheryl's, the tap room, even Ginger's all the way over there. I know, but like, that's huge for these businesses, and they're already getting hit by all of this construction.
I mean, if they had some type of temporary striping that,
Yeah.
you know, degraded after a while. and
Yeah.
just-
But we have to do
even
something
a
with the
taping or
existing lines.
something
We
like
can't just
that.
say, we can't just leave those diagonal lines there.
Could you put tape over them?
No.
They're fairly well faded. I think if we put something that's brighter in there, people are gonna notice those.
I mean, you'd have to sign it for parallel parking,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that'd be quite easy to do.
Yeah. I had Cody, the engineer, out there, so we'll look at it again.
I mean, anything we can do, I think the sooner we can get parallel parking in there, we need to do it.
Yeah,
Like-
it'd be great for 4th of July weekend.
Oh my God, it would be hugely.
So, we'll see. But, yeah, so there was that. And then the other thing I had, we have the Buchanan Street stop signs at 4th Avenue down there. And we have them, actually, we became a 4-way stop. And somebody went to pull out at, they turned by the library and went down and came out on 2nd by the new building that's going there, the old food pantry. And they had an awful time. They could see to the north, looking back toward First Avenue, but they had an awful time looking to the south and almost pulled out in front of a vehicle. They were wondering if there would be a possibility of maybe putting a stop sign, temporary stop sign on the corner where Dan Lucas is, so that traffic not only would stop at 4th coming up toward First Avenue, but then that traffic going north would stop. Coming south, they could see traffic. So I went up there and I drove through it, and I'm like, I can understand that. If you have a,
It's a blind spot right there, and you're pulling out, you can't see around the corner, because that happened to me Saturday night where I almost got drilled, so.
The only thing is, it's pretty dangerous, I think, to have a 3-way stop.
well, it'd
I
be
think
a-
if you're gonna make
it a
them,
4-way stop.
it-
Yeah.
You
well,
could
you just
make
said not stop them southbound, I thought.
Well, you wouldn't have to make them stop southbound because you can actually see that traffic.
That's visible.
I know, but I'm saying, like, if you're coming north and now you have to stop, unless we have more signage that says oncoming is not stopping, you're gonna think if you're stopping that they're stopping.
Yeah, or just put a sign there that says 3-way stop.
Is
Yeah,
it a
but
big
which
deal to
one?
make it a 4-way though?
Like,
Not for me, it's not.
like, I'm all, like,
You guys
I s-
only wanted them to stop once, so that's why we put the one, like,
but
halfway.
like, seeing traffic come through there, like, I almost got hit over the weekend, like, cars still fly. And I saw a car blow right through the stop sign, just, probably because they didn't know it was there, but,
Yeah.
They're not used to it.
And I knew, I have to say this myself, before 136 was closed, that those 4 stop signs were on 4th. I went up to the clinic, went up 136, and kind of did my thing, and I came back down, and I'm gawking around, and all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, backed up, there's a stop sign there.
You
I
mean
almost
where
ran
the
through it with
yields
the
used to
squad
be?
car. Yeah.
Crossing Buchanan is
Yeah.
he's talking about.
Oh, yeah, your habits, you're thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
But that's my point, when everybody thinks, like, here you say, like, people have their habits, which is exactly what I was, like, part of our concern with the parking is that people are used to being able to park on those diagonals, and that is very unsafe if people were backing back up into that. So we just, everything that we change is hard for people to get used to, and if someone doesn't know it's a change and then they think it's the way it is, it's, Brad and Fred have spent a lot of time on Buchanan.
I think,
I even stopped a golf cart today.
no way.
It's
Going out of town.
first sign of summer.
Yeah, I think we should make that a four-way.
Yeah.
I think,
It,
I think it
I
makes
know we
sense.
only wanted to put one stop sign in, but we've got to put in more. Even if it stops one person or stops one accident, I'm happy with that. Like, we got to get that going, under
Okay.
control.
Honestly, we haven't had a lot of issues with speed there. I mean, if you're going south and you go through that intersection at Fourth, you make the stop there. You go another block and there's a natural speed bump there.
Yeah,
There
there
is.
is, for sure.
Oh, yeah. It'll take out the front end of your car, too.
Yes, sir.
Well, and it's interesting because, like, naturally, or like, I've always just gone over to the other lane to go around, and you can't do that anymore because there's so much traffic on it. Like, it,
Riley, that's illegal.
I know.
Well, we had, last week, I don't know, Fred went home early one day, so I got a call that there was a truck that was hanging up well, Megan was there, hanging up the sign for the tap room, and they had already parked and put their riggers out to the side to put it up, and they were on Buchanan, and I had to stand there for 45 minutes, and it's not safe. I mean, people are like, even though they saw the truck, like people coming eastbound facing the bridge to turn right, like they're just whipping around, so I had to like stop, like you need to come, then you can go, like it was,
Yeah, they couldn't-
it's not fabulous.
It's kind of hard to see going around that corner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just make it a four-way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a temporary thing, so.
you,
Yeah.
you did a great job, traffic.
Yes, the mayor did witness such things. He's
Yep.
like, do you need help, ma'am?
I also
Around the
witnessed
coast.
it. It was,
Yes.
the guy hanging the sign was like, "Your poor city ladies out there directing traffic."
He's like, I'm like, just hurry up. I was like, no point in moving this truck. I'm like, I'm just gonna stand here, hurry up, and it's raining now. So, yeah. So I'll have the guys get 2 more stop signs.
And look at the parallel parking
Yes.
stuff. Sorry.
I mean, if you were gonna do parallel, you could do adhesive striping.
Yeah.
You wouldn't cover over the existing, the other striping, but you could do adhesive striping that just takes right off after you're done.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, you think typically they'd use one stripe, whatever. Use 2 or 3 so you can really see that it's these lines.
Make it more bold or a different color for
Yeah.
yellow or something.
Something.
But then parallel parking signage,
Yeah, we'll take a look at it tomorrow.
it'd make a few people
Phil's gonna be
happy.
mad at me, but I think it'd be a great. We
It
need
wasn't just Phil, like, there were other people that work for the city that said, no, doesn't seem safe. So we'll talk about it amongst everybody tomorrow to kind of get thoughts. Doesn't mean that we're not trying to be supportive, obviously. But I think one of the things I said to the person was, it isn't just on the city government and how we have parking to support these businesses through the summer. And if Happy Joe's and the Tap Room and Two Gingers are important to this community, then we are asking everyone to also sacrifice and be willing to walk a few more feet, even if it's not convenient, to continue to support the businesses in our community who have invested a lot of money. So it's, like, parking isn't the only fix. It's people understanding that it's still open and it might not be as easy to park, but hopefully people still go to the restaurants and bars,
The
coffee
inconvenience
shop
won't be
things.
forever.
Yes.
Right. 5 months.
Yep,
So,
Hopefully
Well, we'll
not
look
that
at
Yeah.
I agree.
thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you, Fred.
long. Any questions? Okay, no,
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I do have a question, sorry. For the next pool bash, I obviously was not here at the last meeting when comments were made. And my daughter was here earlier, she chickened out, she had a speech prepared because she is really upset and is very concerned about herself and her siblings at the pool after those comments were made. But I would like to see law enforcement at the next pool bash, like very, very present.
I know Brad is working with something with Lisa to change a couple things. so
Good,
that-
that'd be awesome.
for the noise ordinance, that was, we'll
Okay.
bring it up next month.
But like I would, like if Officer Stainer is working that night, I would love to have him standing at the front door.
Or just pop in once in a while. Or, yeah.
I mean, I personally would like him there the whole time for it, just because
It's
I.
actually on
my-
a Saturday next time, so.
Yeah, my
it's during
kids are
the
gonna
day.
be there and I'm not willing to risk their safety. I'm just not. I would like him there the whole time.
Okay.
Sorry, Fred, I can't, I'm not gonna risk their safety. It's either that or I feel like we're gonna have kids not come, and that's not okay either. So, this is too important for the kids in our community to have a safe event like this.
When is the next one?
Is it July 13th? We just changed it because of the Sunday. There was a big
Oh,
swim.
yeah. No, it was supposed to be on a Sunday originally, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
in the afternoon. And is this
Saturday
one-
the 13th.
This is
Okay.
in the afternoon also?
Is it at 1
1 to
o'clock?
5.
1 to 5?
Okay. We'll see what we can come up
So
with.
hopefully it's less,
Or even if Lee or,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look, so
See if I can get Lee back here.
Brad is off this weekend, coming up, right? Yeah.
Yes. So that would
So
probably be
he's
his weekend
off on off, so he doesn't work that weekend.
Would I be able to get Colette or even myself to just?
I would really appreciate it. I'm a crazy mom, but not willing to risk it. And I know a lot of the council, I think, are planning on attending, from what I heard, to hear the noise and stuff. Or popping in, that was my understanding. Chad, you can go. Put your swimming trunks on, go hang out at the pool.
You can be in the belly flap
I'm
contest,
umpiring
Chad.
that weekend.
He's
The
busy,
entire-
he's got plans as of now.
And if I'm not, I'll make sure I am, right?
I'm out of town that weekend.
I just
Okay.
go nowhere.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Fred.
it.
I'm good.
Library furniture.
So we were supposed to meet this week, and they still didn't have, which is one of the more expensive things, is all the new shelving. So that got delayed till the week of the 8th, because nobody wanted to meet next week for the 4th of July week. So we'll get prices in a couple more weeks, so no report there. And then, again, like, appreciate everything from the police department. I know there's a lot of attention on Buchanan Street, but Fred's been on his shifts, and Brad just really trying to be visible and pulling people over that are making little to no effort to stop, and really trying to help the neighbors in the area understand that we're not issuing citations for a complete lack of a complete stop, but really just to try and slow down traffic. So if they're making an effort. But I think, I don't know what Fred's numbers were, but when Brad called about something one day, he said he's probably pulled over 40 people, and, you know, no citations, but reminding people if he, yeah, and he has a list, he's written them all up, I know, for him, and basically said, like, don't do it again, because if your name's on the list and I pull you over a second time, you're gonna get a citation, but for now, we're just trying. So hopefully, the people who live out there, I know I had a call from somebody on Buchanan today, but when I called them back, they didn't answer, so I'll have to call back again. The other thing that we're working on with that is that Cody and I drove around one day last week, and kind of tried to look at, like, what are the ways that people are getting into areas and kind of getting stuck. So we obviously can do nothing to direct people onto Riverview, because that is not our official detour. But, for example, like, when you're coming from Dyersville, it tells you to get on 136, and then when you get here, like, there's nothing. So we went through all the way, like, out of town by Kleitch's, by the billboard on the west end, or the south side, and all the way down to the other end. And then even, like, at the intersection, like, if you're coming on First, it doesn't say, like, don't go that way. It's like you have to look that way and see road closed. So we put together probably 10 additional signs that we thought would be effective. Cody drew that up, Cody from MSA, our engineer, who's on site every day, drew up a plan. I spoke to Anthony, who's our main contact at IDOT, and that was submitted to them. They've ordered the signs from Selco, and I think that those will be up probably yet this week. So you'll see some additional signage that hopefully tries to help. And Anthony understood, like, it's kind of an evolving process once you see, like, what people are doing. The other big issue, of course, is on the south end by White Front and the medical clinic. So we, Cody and I went and met with both of them, and I've been in touch with their head maintenance person at the clinic. And what's going to happen there is that we are going to bring them an additional Class 3 barricade, which is the big, with 3 bars across that kind of blocks traffic. Bring one for each of their entrances, give them an additional one that they can kind of play with themselves. Like, you know, the clinic kind of wants to be able to say, like, leave it a car width open so that their regular patients can be coming in, but that it's not big enough for semis, for example. And that every one of the entrances will say no public access. And so we tried to beef that up for them. And then the other thing that we did, like, they had somebody that was trying to come to the clinic or to White Front, and that they got 10 miles south at the detour that told them to go towards Monty through Scotch Grove, and it didn't say that it was open to those 2 businesses. And so we also have a sign that will be down there at the detour that tells you to go west. That'll say road open to Medical Associates and to White Front, so that at least people know that. So we're just trying to kind of help them as well. So those are all in order. And then the other really good news that we got was, as you know, we were kind of going back and forth with dust control. I had offered to pay half of any costs that were incurred. At the time, the county was not willing to contribute. At the start of it, the state said that's not our detour, so they were not willing to contribute. So by the time it did get done for the first coating, at the end of the first week, so I feel like 2 weeks ago. And then when I was speaking to Anthony at IDOT, we discussed it again, and I said, I really would appreciate if there was a way that you could help contribute to this, because it's just the reality, although it's not the detour. And the good news is that they came back and said that they will be paying for all of it. So
Wow.
we now do not have to contribute
better.
half, and nor does Jones County. So I've had a few people out there that have called me, including one today, and we've, just tried to say, like, we care about your conditions out there, like, we wanted to help contribute, we felt like it was a partnership, and now thankfully Anthony was willing to pay for that whole thing, and probably have to take one more, I would guess, at least one more, maybe two more, so that is good news for us. Another update on well number 6.
Can we go back to Buchanan
Sorry.
Street quick?
Yes.
So I golfed down at Little Bear over the weekend, and like, it is a tiny little sign that says detour.
Where?
So, like, to take the road to like Scotch Grove, like, it's not,
You're talking when you were coming north, way down south, 10 miles?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I was looking for it, and like, that was
It's
the only
not-
sign that I
Not
found.
real evident.
And it just says detour, like, it doesn't say like 136 closed ahead or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it says detour, people are gonna try it anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
That's right down by Welter Seed,
So I think it's,
where the Scotch Grove Road comes in.
It should be like 10 miles south,
yeah.
because I think there's no signage between here and there, because they said, like, everybody on the side road should be local, and they should know, so they won't. And the problem is, like, what do you do if you're 5 miles up? Like, do you say, turn around?
Yeah.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of, meh. I just thought of something else I was gonna say.
136.
136.
151 is what you have to take if you're coming this way, and you go past Monty, and then whatever the road is that goes through Scotch Grove, and then it brings you 10 miles south. So it's like 17 miles out of the way. Yeah, it's not a pretty detour. Anything else on Buchanan?
I think, just heads up, Saturday, I think it was Jones County was writing tickets for anybody taking one, but
Through the medical center.
associates, or somebody was.
It wasn't Jones County.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, I actually talked to their investigator. He was off for the weekend. Talked to him before I came to the meeting tonight. He said he looked at all the shift briefings from Friday on
Somebody said the sheriff.
Or is there a part-timer working
for Jones County. Huh?
for us?
No, Brad was working this weekend.
I don't, unless Brad was pulling people over.
Unless there
he
was a
didn't give
state trooper
tickets.
down there that,
Might have been,
Yeah.
they said sheriff, but could have been.
yeah, it.
So you didn't see it,
was
just
not-
somebody
It
said.
was not
I-
Jones County, so.
We
Hearsay.
we had a family outing down at the park,
Yeah.
and my nephew said that they were writing tickets. Somebody was writing tickets down there, so I don't know.
Maybe they just saw Brad pulling people over, because he's,
Well, it was right.
Yeah, they could have seen Brad pulling people over on Buchanan Street possibly,
Maybe.
so,
Hmm.
yeah.
yeah, I never heard, I would have thought you would have heard.
But there was a
it.
ton of traffic that went all the way down to the
Yeah.
barricade and.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing that
turnaround
we're
was-
gonna do
was
is because,
ongoing.
so Buchanan, that was the other thing I was saying. So Buchanan goes up the hill to the clinic, and then when you get to the clinic, it's private property. So one of the issues was that when you went on Google Maps and said Cascade to Onslow, it sent you on Buchanan Street, which was the parking lot of Medical Associates.
Yeah.
So Cody went on, I had the clinic go on, and I had IDOT go on, and when I went to check it, it now sent me on Riverview Road. But there was a truck driver that Fred talked to the other day that said it was still on there and it had sent him through that way. So we're trying to do that. Just to, it's hard. Google Maps is a goofy deal. So we have a couple other things like that I've noticed. We also did some tree trimming at that intersection. Ryan Shackamel sent me an email about like different signage. So then I think the other thing that we have to do, because our road dead ends at the top of the hill, we don't say dead end there, which I would think that should be a permanent change, like, nobody paid attention before now, but no one should be going through that way. It's a dead end for a purpose of a public road, so. I asked the guys to order a dead end sign that would go just past Riverview, like instead of going left, if you went straight, it would say dead end. So we made that change. The next item, any other things on that? So well number 6, I dealt with finally, I've been bothering the adjusters, like what is going on. So remember that we have boiler insurance, like mechanical failure insurance. And so they have decided that, and I'll question them once I get their official determination, this was verbal at the time. But they're claiming that anything that happened underground as opposed to on the surface is not covered. So I'll be asking for an exclusion for that. But the estimate for the cost of repairing everything is $184,000, of which approximately 110 to 120 of it will be covered, minus a $5,000 deductible on that side. So we're looking at somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000, most likely, of our money that will have to go to repair that. Again, I'm in a question like, where does it say that? Because basically you have the motor that was at the top, the shaft, and then the pump. So when the motor failed and flipped the shaft all around, that disconnected from the top, sent the motor crashing down to the bottom of a 1,000-foot well. And so how that's not all related, I don't know.
That's all
But-
assembly.
Right. So, but as the Northway gentleman reminded us, like, you do have to be careful as well because there could have been like no coverage. So I need to tread cautiously. But we definitely will have an expense on the water side, but at least we have about 2/3 coverage. So based on that, I'll see what the adjuster says. I think that we'll be getting a check. We haven't paid anything to Northway. And then we had, Phil and I spoke to Tom from Northway today, and based on the pump and the motor both have to be replaced, and so those are on order, and that the likelihood, based on their timing of when we'll get it, will likely be that they'll be back in August to repair it. And then the other thing, if you have driven past the well house, you'll see those big metal pipes, and those at a scrapping price versus sale price. They told us to sell them, like we could try to get some money at $4 a foot, and most of them are all 20-foot sections, so we could perhaps get as much as $1,300. So if everybody's okay, we're gonna list that for sale. I guess farmers use that almost as like bollards or something.
Yeah.
There's already been some farmers that have asked about it, so we'll make sure, but I'm gonna try to scrap that off and then if we can't sell it to anybody that wants it at the $4, which is what Northway suggested, then a scrap price is probably like $250 a foot, so that's okay with everybody? Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And then, again, due to Riley's resignation, at the next meeting, we'll be discussing replacement, which then has to be done by state law by August 24th, so we'll obviously give it a little bit of time, the more that people find out about it. I know in the past, your practice was to do an appointment and then leave it up to the citizens if somebody were to come forward for an election, and obviously by the time this person gets there, we're talking about 15 months, so not a huge amount of time compared to a 4-year term, so we'll have that on the agenda, and then you guys can decide, and we can plan on an appointment if that's the way that you want to go. I think the last time we did the election, it was somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000, so if nobody came forward with that, it's probably, I would think, better to do the appointment and let people come forward. But we'll have that on the agenda for next time. And I think that's all I have.
That's it? Public comment? I'd just like to comment what a treat it was working with Riley.
Yeah?
He was
Thanks,
always good.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You'll be back.
Yeah, maybe, give me
Give me
18, 20 years.
Stop, you're ridiculous.
It may take that, yeah.
Or if you have
That's
more
good.
kids, you gotta add a couple
Yeah,
more.
then it keeps-
20 if they're 2 years apart, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to remind people too, the fire department is doing, like, showing off the new fire truck at the Cascade Reds game on July 7th at 1 p.m. Is that the beginning of the Reds tournament?
No.
No?
Just a Sunday
Okay.
game.
It's just Sunday game, yeah. So definitely want to bring your families out and support the Reds and check out the new fire truck, support the fire department.
I didn't get a reply, I don't think, from Nick and Bert, but I did ask them to bring the fire truck up on July 8th for our next council meeting, so that all of you, if you want to come a few minutes early, I'll remind you then, but that you can see it up here.
Cool.
Gotcha. If there's nothing else for the betterment of the community, I need a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.